Hello, good evening. My name is Bita Sadanandan, and today is the 3rd of March 2026. The time is 6:30 p.m. The area of body we would be maintaining health of through the Nirbeeja Yoga style. Excuse the sound in the background. I don't have a silencer, so we're going to have to enjoy the music or include that as part of the scenery, which adds for some additional interesting ingredients in what Nirbeeja Yoga makes available. Because life is not an interruption to life or what's happening. We have different ingredients, we have different inclusions. Variety is some of the spice that makes life interesting. And changes such as this, you like the traffic, you like to isolate your experience into a particular room to the exclusion of everything else, yoga at a particular time, in a particular format, when life offers so many varieties, which is why I call it dynamic stillnesses. Nirbeeja Yoga arises from over time have the experience of dynamic stillnesses. So dynamic stillnesses betters Nirbeeja Yoga betters dynamic stillnesses. And we have three other yoga. Yeah, I call it Dharmapada for soul satisfaction, medicine intelligence therapy, connect dot marketing. Yeah, connect dot again. So we got three other formats of yoga apart from Nirbeeja Yoga to improve dynamic stillnesses and for dynamic stillnesses to improve these four values, paradigms of thinking, living, being. Breathe, heal, love, live. And we are doing breathe, heal, love, live through Nirbeeja Yoga style because all the four are there in all the four. And so it makes for an interesting complexity of what is possible to be had in a buffet. Because if you're going to have the same menu and specific ingredients and you have a dearth of imagination, we're only going to be having so much fun in a buffet. Yeah. This makes life so much more interesting, so much more. Now, and new ingredients keep getting added as I walk around, meet new people. Um, I got to know about another group, yeah, who also facilitate health through an interesting sun, moon, star meditation. Yeah, so sort of. Um, so I'm meeting new people. So what new ingredients get added? I got to know about a word called, what's it called? Shavakari. Yeah. And I was thinking, we all have life or something like it. And we have a body that's human. And I have made my own interpretation of what they are calling as Shavakari. Okay. They refer to meat-based ingredients, what you cook. Yeah. But how I understand it is people also eat meat. There are places that are so cold, they can only have vegetables from a can or meat as the only source of food. And how then do people live where sunlight does not show up 24 hours? Or rather, in a 24-hour day, they don't get to see sunlight or moonlight. Okay. And then we know of what we know and we don't know what we don't know. And our knees have the experience of living. They buckle when we are happy with certain experiences or not, or when you're encountering something you've never heard before, your knees buckle. Yeah, or you have a knee-jerk reaction. And what you have paid attention to in your knees versus not, then gives your, what do you say, uprightitude with life, because your knees hold your posture upright. Otherwise, you have knock knees or you have bracket knees. Yeah, convex knee composition versus concave. Yeah, like a bracket shape where your knees are kind of turned outward versus turn a little inward versus are like parallel lines. And then how easily is your life upheld is also by the health of your knee joints. Too flexible, you have a problem. Too stiff, you have a problem. Whether it is parallel, convex, or concave. And how is all of this related with Shavakari? Well, you sit amongst other human beings. You work amongst other human beings. We are all on the same planet Earth. So, whether or not you like it, you open a screen, you see human beings. Yeah? Video, or you just have to close your eyes and listen to your own self. You'll have voices. And they're not voices from aliens. They are voices from life as has lived. And the words formed from human beings talking over time. Yeah, you have noises and likely words too. So your body is cooking all the time, stories at least. And you have life or something like it, or you're not even woken up to what life makes available, which means to that extent your Shava. Walkie-talkie, kind of living like not dead, but not alive, not living yet. So, and then what gets cooked in the broth that is your body, which is also called the biology, you have blood boiling or different kinds of experiences. And then you're a cooking pot with the broth that's boiling in your body, and you're walking amongst other humans. Okay? So that's Shavakari to me. Yeah? But that's not the Shavakari. Shavakari is what happens in the environment from your cooking pot interacting with other cooking pots. Their body, their own stories, the boils in the blood. Alive or walkie-talkie, something like alive. Okay? And what happens in the environment? For example, we've had 2 years of the pandemic because a virus, common cold virus, became wild from how people were living in life. Yeah? There were also some news saying that our body is producing the viruses, putting out viruses. So I was thinking, interesting thought line, but not very far out because you are influencing what gets created in your environment. You have ice, you have dry times, you have too hot environments. You sit in the same room, two people can't sit in the same room because of what's cooking in their own bodies. Or their bones containing bones, muscles, tissues, containing stories from lifetimes, never really processed. So your ability to be in the present is taken away by past life-based experiences. They even call themselves gurus. So I was thinking lots of cookies. Yeah, I was calling pachakari. Raw vegetables. In Malayalam, pachakari means raw vegetables. So if you're walking around like crude, this periodic table is having iron all the way up to ennobled elements in the periodic table. If you've never really contemplated about your own body as pachakari, raw, like raw water, pachavellam is in Malayalam is raw water. When you boil it, then it becomes thalachavellam. So you have raw, you're walking around raw, never really considered how raw you are. And your intelligence could do with a little refinement. That is, if you can pay attention to where does your skin end and the air begin, or where does the insides of your body begin versus outside. Yeah. And if you're going to be meditating on gods, or on books, or on mantras, or on yantras, or on tantras, you are out of what it takes to have a life. Because you have life or something like it. And you're walkie-talkie shavakaris. Yeah. Now this is about Shiva. How to live in life in the multiverse, which is also your own body, because your heart is making a sound different from your liver, is making a sound different from your intestines. So they're all making verses, sounds. It's also called the Vedas. We have many Vedas chanting their own sounds from how the heart is beating, the pulse at your wrist is beating. You're a walkie-talkie multiverse. The thing is it nice listening to you? Like if doctor put a stethoscope, are they going to, I mean, they're going to hear what they're going to hear. But you're an orchestra of pleasant sounds versus when you're sitting somewhere, you go, God is listening to all of these sounds. Guess who should help the 50% of the equation? Because God can help 50% of the equation. You should help yourself too. Because God's got a lot of details to pay attention to. God isn't everything. God is not everything. I found this out from Mighty Conscience. When you put the whole scheme of things, I mean, the whole things in the scheme of, in a referenceable manner, you discover that God is in everything, but God is not everything. So you got to do your bit. So you'd like to know what is it I'm talking about? Message me. Contact me at learn.dynamicstillnesses.com, learn.dynamicstillnesses.com. And then I will introduce you through a webinar, I have a structured program by which you'll get to know mighty conscience and get to see the whole scheme of things. And then you'll be wiser for the time you spend. Interact with me. Now, about the knees. Nirbeeja Yoga is movementless yoga. You get to pay attention to a part of the body. So today, we're going to take care of our knees. Okay? I invite you to take a seat on a chair, which may or may not have armrest, but you can sit with your knees at a 90-degree angle between your hips and your ankles. So that when you place your feet flat on the ground, if you have feet, and you can place it flat on the ground because some people have talipus ankles or rather feet, where the feet cannot fully be flat on the ground. Try, if you're not faced with such challenges, then place your feet flat on the ground. You have the body composition you have because that's the job, that's the role you get to play in the whole scheme of things. People who have their legs flat, I mean, have their feet flat, they have certain roles. Those who have their feet curved have certain roles, which flat feet people can't because they don't see life from having feet curved. Yeah, because the what do you say? It's like a hammer looks different from a nail, looks different from a saw, looks different from a chair. Everything has its own role to play in the whole scheme of things. Your body is required to be that way for life to have the benefit of your being in existence. If you're any other way, that job cannot get done. So thank you so much for being you and having the body you have. Hopefully, you're not looking at altering it because then you will be able to gradually be able to maintain health, wealth, and wisdom from who you are and then how you gradually become better to the optimum that you can. That's also called Shrishti optimization. Your optimum self and then what you can make available optimized to what it could be from you doing what you can do at the optimum. Yeah. Optimum. It's not too much or too less, just enough. And a lot of people have a difficulty knowing what is just enough. So let's look at the knees and appreciate what could be just enough. Too much stretch, strain, pull, push, and then your knees have a little, what do you say, a little pouch, fluid bag to maintain to take the pressure, stress, to maintain yeah, what's it called? It's a bursa, fluid filled pouch, bursa. Yeah. Some people have a disease because of how that bursa is not as optimum as it need to be. There are no creaky joints, but just the bursa is having a little trouble. Yeah. And then that's when I noticed, oh my goodness, this joint called knees, is doing something very fantastic in the whole body. Like the ankles, when it's at a particular angle, makes your experience of living very different. And here is a joint called the knees that then supports your experience of living from the shape it is. Yeah. If it's convex, if it's concave, yeah, knock knees versus bracket knees versus parallel knees, gives you a perspective on life which is not otherwise possible. Okay? Try straightening out your knees. Yeah? However the shape of your knees are. Yeah, if it's bracket or convex or concave. Okay. Knock knees or bracket knees or parallel knees. Try changing the shape of it. Or just strain in between the insides versus outside. Now, okay. So your knees have the knee joint, and then you have the outer surface and the inner surface. Yeah. The outer surface versus inner surface may be bracket or concave, convex or concave. Yeah. Wherein the stress you experience in the outsides of the knees versus the stress you experience in the insides of the knees may or may not be the same. Okay. Let me repeat that. Try paying attention. Okay. The stress that you experience in the outsides of the knees and the stress you experience in the insides of the knees may or may not be the same. For this, I invite you to stand up, okay? And then pay attention to the outsides of your knees and notice if the tension in the left versus right knees is the same. Now, they need not be the same, and you don't have to change anything because that's how your body is required to be. Yeah? It's like the central pole of a tent. That tent is maintaining the life you have from the posture it is. It's like a pillar of a house. Okay? Maintaining the life you have from how things are. And you are noticing how is the pillar. That's your body. It's not good or bad. It is maintaining the life you have and doing a remarkable work. So pay attention to the tension of your knees on the outsides of your knees, left and right sides, and notice if they are same or different. You don't have to change anything. Only notice if they are same or different. Okay? And notice just by noticing how they are without changing anything, if your breath eases in some way, because it's not bad the way it is or good. Yep. I mean, you're appreciating how it is and you're maintaining the health of your life. What you have, what you don't, the quality, you have a life the way it is. On Earth, there are a lot of planets, and there are lots of souls who haven't yet been born or couldn't be born because they got to meet criteria to be on Earth. And you are on Earth with the composition you have. So that's already moksha from several levels of dukkha. Because there are souls who got to qualify to have a body that's human before they can be on Earth. You've already qualified and you're on Earth and you have the body composition you have. That's already moksha. And now, to better what you can make available, what you do, several details. First, you got to know what in the world you have. You have a body that's human. And you have the composition you do. Okay? Now, bring your attention to the insides of your knee, the inner surface of your knees, and notice the tension in the inner surface of your knees. Now, inside could be you could bend your knees, that's also inner surface. That could also be in between your legs, that's also inner surface. Yeah. So you could pay attention to the inner surface of your knees and notice that the tensions are the same in the left and right knees. And then now notice the outsides and the insides. Okay. As you pay attention to the inner surface, notice if the tension in the inside of your body versus outside, like the region of your elbows, that's the outer surface. And the region where your heart is, heart, intestines, that's more like the inner surface. When you pay attention to the inner surface, inner tension of your knees, notice if the insides of your body relax in some way. Okay, so that's kind of your knees are maintaining balance between outsides and insides. Okay, outsides are like the region of your elbows, insides are like the inner surface of your body. Okay, and you don't have to change anything, only notice how is the tension in the inner surface of your knees without changing anything, without moving or making any adjustments. Notice how they are, because that's how you're required to be in this season of 2026 or this day. Morning, you may have required to be slightly different, afternoon different, evening different. This time of the day, in the geography you are in, yeah, and with the environmental changes, seasons, this is how your body is required to be. Okay? We're all like a slow moving dance. And different is like let's say, like a ballet. Yeah? And different people do different movements in a coordinated manner, like an orchestra. Yeah? And this is how your movement is required to be for the whole performance to be balanced. And we are all on planet Earth. So it's a fine dance across the globe. Okay? So you're doing your movements. Yeah? So now pay attention to your breath and notice if your breath is in any way different, which could also be is the inner surface of your body, any different from just paying attention to the tension in the inner surface of your knees, left and right, however they are. A lot of people do not pay attention to the inner surface. So, man, the amount of tension and pressure people go through from just not paying attention to the tension between the inner surface and outer surface. And they go about adjusting and making fixes and changes. Oh, the whole dance changes. Tell you. Now, just notice how things are. This is about Shrishti optimization. Yeah? You being your optimum self. It's not less or more. It's just enough. Yeah. But that you need to know what is there before you can optimize. All right. Now, bring attention. Now I invite you to just sit down for a while because that's a milestone in just being aware between the inner surface of your knees and the outer surface. Yeah. A lot of people, for example, who've never heard this stuff that I'm talking about, have not heard this stuff. And so they don't have an experiential difference in what happens when they pay attention to their own knees between the inside and outsides. We are still going to cover some more details, but this is a milestone. Yeah, not many people have the benefit of appreciating this. Now, I invite you to sit down because that's like you've run a marathon. Yeah, for some people, it's several lifetimes in just a few minutes of this awareness. Yeah, and we're not even talking about awareness, we're talking about stories which you haven't even put in words because experience, this is like several experiences. If you put in words, it might cover volumes. So let's not go into words. This is movementless yoga. You don't even have to speak. Silence, stillness, nothing. Just these three words will cover an entire universe, no, multiverse. You know encyclopedias? The encyclopedias that we already have? Consider there is another set just as much or big or more, I don't know. But people talk in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. I'm talking in terms of silence, stillness, nothing. Yeah, makes a world of difference. Gives every room a meaning. They're like paints, but what's the house you are living in? What's the paint? What's the colors that paint your life or the walls or your house? Do you live a colorful life or is it, oh, today's also holy? Yeah, that should be something to pay attention to in colors. Now, I invite you to sit down if you're not sitting already and relax. Those knees have covered a marathon by not even moving a muscle. And your whole body has been experiencing the difference from just not moving a muscle. Okay? And like, "एक लम्हे में सिमट आया." सदियों का सफर. Now, it just means in a moment, um, decades of experience just got, you had a flash experience in a moment of lifetimes lived. Yeah. So that will be a little less. Yeah, that's a elaborate description of something which is more than that. But okay. Now, if you're sitting, pay attention to your breath. Notice if you're sitting any different, if your experience of sitting is any different now. Yeah, you cannot compare to go past because, well, let's just be in the present moment. It may be easier to be in the present moment with this experience, after this experience. Yeah, because you've changed, something's shifted in you. Yeah, slightly different. And that's hard to describe sometimes. Yeah. Um, Now, it would help if you're going to jot down a few words, something to just hold this experience or in some way to remember this experience. Yeah, just jot down a few words. And so I invite you to keep a book where you can jot down these certain words. So over time, you're getting these points in one book. Yeah, otherwise you would have many pages. And then some things are better kept in one book. It's like an album, photo album. They remember things in one book, and then you can refer them over time. Yeah. So this could be something like a snapshot of an experience, or over time, the dots may dash or connect in a way that you may never otherwise think about. Like people look at stars and then over time they discover constellations. Yeah. And then they make meanings out of the constellation. They even look at their future predictions for how is this day going to be from looking at the constellations. Man, just pay attention to your body, man. That's a multiverse. That's more than constellation. That's more than sun, moon, stars. That's more than, oh my goodness, they haven't even discovered a lot of dots out there because they're still peering through telescopes and microscopes, and you already have a fantastic omniverse, multiverse, universe, what have you. Yeah. Lots of words, and we have silent, stillness, nothing. Yeah. You can be silent in any language. Yeah. And that's a whole lot of languages. Ooh, lots of chatter, 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 chatter. But there is silence. And then there is, frequency, energy, vibration. There is stillness. And there is all kinds of movements possible. Yeah. They even stand on their head. And then there's nothing. And there is something, anything, everything also possible on the baseline of nothing. Yeah. So, too much. You don't want to handle so much. Yeah, it's like a big buffet. Okay. Big. Ooh. All right. We can be silent in any language. Yeah, let's just be silent for a bit. Because lots of talk appreciates a little silence to appreciate what just happened. In silence may be observable the movement of your breath. Because movements are not from sounds, movements are from an experience. But in silence, it becomes possible to appreciate movement. There could be people moving around you, yeah, but you could hear the sound of that movement in the silence. Okay, so silence is already there, over and above which you hear sounds, over and above which you notice movements. For example, the movements of your own body as you breathe. Do you notice when I was silent, you could probably pay attention to the movements better? But if I don't speak, it becomes difficult to bring your attention to what is already happening. So I'm going to have to speak a little here and there. But there is silence in between the words. Now I can stretch out the words, or I can speak fast. Like I can just a lot of stuff. It's like a rain pouring. Yeah. Lots of sounds, and I can be silent. And this silence is always there, whether or not I'm speaking or not, whether somebody else is speaking or not. Over and above which, you can hear the sounds, you can feel the movements, and there is something, anything, everything. Over and above nothing. You see, silence, stillness, nothing, they're all related. But so are sounds, movements, something, anything, everything. Yeah, frequency, energy, vibration, they say. This is a whole world that we don't even know exists because we may have been embroiled in the sounds, the frequency, energy, vibrations, and the stars and planets and galaxies and things and lot of stuff. They're all important, but they become appreciable sometimes when you see life from another perspective. Yeah. So this is like a whole world beneath the world we thought we already know. Yeah. So Johari Window is talking about I know that I know. I know I don't know. I know that I know. I know that I don't know. Okay. And then there is I don't know that I know. And then there's I don't know that I don't know. Three of these quadrants are talking about I don't know. One quadrant is talking about I know. Okay? And they're also saying, so all of life, we've gone to school, all of the stuff that people have been discovering through looking at telescopes and microscopes, they all fall into one quadrant called I know. And there's so much we don't know because we are all on the same planet Earth. Life is found only on planet Earth. While there are all kinds of sun, moon, planets, stars, galaxies, what have you. Yeah? And we're wondering about how I wonder what you are looking at a star. Yeah? You can also look at a tree and wonder how I wonder what you are. Because then you have botany as a specialty to study. Where you can not just wonder, but you'll discover what a tree is. And you have a whole field of study. Those who go to school know the importance of botany. So you would find answers there. You're going to look at stars and go, how I wonder what you are. There is astrophysics. And you'll find some details about it. You are looking at a stone and wondering, how I wonder what you are. There are all kinds of stones. And there is geography, geology. Okay, I don't know the field of work that is specific to studying rocks versus the geography of the location, which is a field of study in and of itself. If you're curious, you will find answers. There are fields of study to also discover things about what you're curious. Libraries are there. There are people studying rocks specifically because, just like you, they got curious about rocks and they were not interested in stars or trees or food or roads. No, they're interested in rocks. So you will find people just like you who are interested in just your kind of topic. Yeah. Which is some of the benefits of school. Okay. Now, that's also discipline. You are following yourself and then you are towing that line and not getting distracted because that's what you want to learn. Discipline. Yeah. Toe the line yourself and make sure you're towing the line so that you get to what is possible from towing that line of interest. There is also called school. Yeah. You are schooling yourself into becoming a certain person by following the interests that you have. Your knees let you know if you are balancing between the left and right sides and how you're managing the show at this point in time, on this date, in this geography that you are in. So no matter where you are, morning you started your day in one place, evening you're in another place, your knees will tell about how your day has been. And then you can write in your journal. Not in the same book. I mean, this book, you can maintain certain jots, certain dots. You can jot down certain points, dots. You can keep another book just to write your stories or your journals. So you're not mixing all this stuff. Yeah. So you have a certain track, and you have another idea, you jot down your thought lines in one. You could use, say, a OneNote. It's a software you can download onto your phone or your tablet, and you can make sections, you can make categories, you can write down in them. It becomes easier to write down notes on the move. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd have to carry a book if you're not so very fond of carrying a baggage. A phone has many options available in there, yeah, including the internet and phone service and SMS and also OneNote, apps like OneNote, where you can jot down many information. So these days we have a smartphone, yeah, a phone in which many things becomes possible. Now, I hope your knees give you another thing. I don't want to go too much more into the knees bit and experience because it's like you've had a full meal and you don't want to. Um, there's so much that a stomach can contain. You don't want to overfill it and then spoil your appreciation of the meal. Yeah. So we will just pause on that note, and I hope this episode has been of value to you. And do let me know what's showing up for you. Is this of value to you? How is it of value to you? Can you share from your experience? Leave a note in the comment, yeah, or DM me on learn.dynamicstillnesses.com. I'd love to hear from you, and we can see what can be made better in your experience and what you can do from just having a body that's human. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of people haven't discovered about what's possible from just the experience of having a body that's human. And they're even searching for moksha. Can you believe it? Not knowing from going beyond what they don't know to recognizing what they already have is also moksha. So, more and more, lots of stuff to discover. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been of value to you. Good day.